Did you know? You can receive free poker training through card runners by signing up with Truly Free Poker Training and registering your Titan or Party Poker screen name. No fees, no deductions, no impact on your points or bonuses. Just free poker training from the best in the business. All you have to do is go to trulyfreepokertraining.com, sign up, and earn enough points to qualify. Even if you don't have an existing Titan or Party Poker account, you can still take advantage of some great deals, like earning a free copy of Hold'em Manager or a free month at Card Runners. Check out our See Our Deals page on our website for more information.
Hi everyone, this is Matthew Jenner for Card Runners, and I'm here with my third part in my quickie series on defending against 3-bets on the button. Time for a quick quickie review. We are analyzing how to defend different button opening ranges against 3-bets. We already defended a 35% raise first in, now we will defend a 40% raise first in. For a 40% raise first in, we will attempt to defend 33.3% of our range against a 3-bet, so 40% times 33.3% equals 13.3%. We will 4-bet jacks or better and ace-king for 3% total value 4-bets and balance it with 2% bluffs. So, one thing you might be tempted to do as you open your button range wider and wider and wider is to start 4-betting wider for value and 4-bet bluffing more. In general, this does not work all that well. You are going to find you really can't start 4-betting hands like 10s or 9s or ace-queen or ace-jack for value. It's not going to work very well. Even if your opponents are 3-betting very aggressively, those hands are not strong enough to usually 4-bet and get it in. So keep that in mind that your 4-betting range probably isn't going to change all that much as you do open your button wider. The inability to really widen your 4-betting for value range very effectively is one of the reasons why you can 5-bet bluff jam very effectively against a button 4-bet, is you'll often find that if someone's opening the button very, very wide, when you start 3-betting them aggressively, the way they like to respond is by 4-betting, because the other way to respond is to start flatting 3-bets with a very wide, very weak range, which is much harder to do. So they'll respond by 4-betting, and they'll be too weighted towards 4-bet bluffs, and then you just start 5-bet jamming. So just keep that in mind. I had a lot of success with that, but it doesn't necessarily mean it will work for your game. But as an exploitable line, I really like that line a lot, because it really is just very, very hard to defend against 3-bets if you're opening the button super wide. This leaves us with 13.3% minus 5% equals 8.3% of hands to defend. If we defend twice as many combos to prevent free rolling, then we must defend 8.3% times 2, which is 16.6% of hands. That's quite a decently wide range. That is wider than an under-the-gun opening range for most people in 6 max. Notice how much wider our 3-bet defending range got. For every 1% more hands we open, and as the preflop raiser, we have to defend 0.33 times 2 equals 0.66% more hands by calling. By opening 5% more hands preflop, we have to defend 40 minus 35, which is just 5, times 0.33 times 2 equals 3.3% more hands. So really keep that in mind, that whatever you sort of, well, let me get this. This will change based on how big of a call multiplier you pick, but you can see how quickly a few percentages add up. So keep that in mind as you start defending against 3-bets more aggressively and not just folding to 3-bets too wide, especially at small stakes where you can kind of get away with just folding to 3-bets way too much. The wider you open, especially the button, your 3-bet calling range is going to increase pretty drastically. So here I've picked a call multiplier of 2, which I think is very reasonable, and for every 1% more hand I open raise first in on the button, I have to increase my 3-bet calling range by 2/3 that much. That is a really, really big increase, and as you can see, once you start getting to people that are opening the button 50 or 60% of the time, it just gets very, very hard to defend. Alright, but that's enough talk. We are now going to move on to Flopzilla. Alright, so here's the Flopzilla range. I have my same format. Here is the Flopzilla range that I decided to use to flat for 16.7%. You know, you could change this range around a little bit if you wanted to slow play some big hands, and once again, if you disagree with anything I've used, for example, if you think 5-4 suited or King 10 off or pocket 3s are better than any of these hands that I defended with, then just go ahead and switch that. That's not a big deal. So, to me, this range already looks very, very wide, even though a button 40% open isn't particularly wide. So now we're going to go ahead and jump right in with and randomly generate some flops. And I know personally for me, as I'm doing this, one thing I'm keeping in mind is I eventually want to start playing, you know, heads-up poker online. I'm starting to think, wow, this range isn't wide at all for a heads-up range. So I'm starting to think, how is this actually going to look once I start opening the button, you know, 70 or 80% heads up? So something kind of to think about, you know, put things in perspective. Although this range does seem very, very wide, there's a lot of times where if you're playing heads up, you're going to have to use a lot wider. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, ace, queen, jack with 2 spades. So, total combos is going to be 179. Obviously, that's reduced heavily because we make so many pairs. And desired combos defended is going to be 179 times 0.7, which will get us 125 combos. All right, so off the top of my head, I think we should be able to defend this one wide enough. We are a little bit heavy on suited connectors and stuff, so I actually could be wrong. But I'm going to at least try to defend 125 combos and not let my opponent bet any 2 cards for value. Because personally, if he's betting, you know, pocket 3s on this flop and showing a profit, something seems wrong to me. But by the same token, I'm noticing we can only fold 54 combos and, you know, 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, 5s, and 4s. That's 36 hand combos right there. And we also have a bunch of these, you know, suited connectors and gappers that totally miss. So this might actually still be pretty difficult. So, one thing I'm going to try to do here, which I've honestly never done before this hand, is I'm going to write in hands folding, and I'm just going to list down the hands that I want to fold, and I know I'm going to have to call with everything else, or call or raise, because this seems more reasonable here than it usually would. Because usually, you know, you want to pick out with the best hands that you need to defend and go in order, but here we're only folding, you know, such few hands, and it's kind of easy to see which ones we need to fold, that this seems quicker to me. So it's just a different way to approach it. So 9s to 4s, that's 36 hand combos, and then we also can fold, let's look at what else. So let's go to no made hand. So that's going to be, that would be 30 hand combos, but we're also going to defend 10-9 suited. We probably will defend 10-8 suited too, since that's double gutted. So let's take those out. So we're going to have flush draws. We're going to defend 10-9 suited and 10-8 suited. So that would be 9-8 suited, 9-7 suited, 8-7 suited. So I'm going to just put 9-8 suited, 9-7 suited, 8-7 suited, 8-6 suited, 7-6 suited, 7-5 suited, and lastly 6-5 suited. And that's going to be 3 combos each, so that should be 21 combos, I believe. 21 combos, perfect, because that's 3 combos each, because we are defending the flush draw. Then we can defend 10-9 suited, 10-8 suited, and King-9 suited. King-9 suited also is probably going to need to get mucked, actually, so I'm going to throw that down here, too. King-9 suited, so that will be another 3, so that gets us to 24. So we wanted to defend, we were able to fold 54 combos, and this right here already gives us 60. So we probably need to even defend the King-9 suited, and that would get us to 60, so that would get us to 57. Alright, so now we know the hands that we can fold. Once again, I never pretty much approach it backwards like this, but this looks like a reasonable way to do it, and, you know, if you can save yourself time, that's probably a good method. So now we have the option of raising some hands on the flop for both a value and a bluff, and I think that's a pretty reasonable option here. So I'm trying to think exactly what I would want to value raise here. So let's, you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to plug it in a 3-betting range, and then I want to see how often some of my strong hands are beat, and that will let me know whether or not I want to value raise or flat. So here is more or less my big blind 3-betting range, and if I look at it, I can see that, you know, top 2 pair is going to only be behind around 6.67% of the time on the flop. Once you put in something like ace-queen, that obviously reduces it pretty dramatically since it has a lot of blocking effects. So it does look like raising something like ace-queen on this flop is probably going to be a very reasonable play. We can't prove whether or not it's more profitable to flat or raise ace-queen. When you flat ace-queen, it encourages your opponent to double barrel more, but he also, you know, might catch a bad turn card and end up folding the hand. Or he might just straight up draw out on you when he's bluffing with something like 10-9 or 10-8 or whatever on the flop. I know it's not in this exact range right here, but a lot of people will 3-bet bluff those hands even if they always shouldn't. So it's a very reasonable spot to raise ace-queen because it's both a strong yet vulnerable hand, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do that here. Once again, if you don't want to raise a hand like ace-queen here, there's nothing really wrong with it. We can't prove which play is more profitable. We're more or less just making an educated guess, and I personally think, you know, looking at his range, looking at my range, it seems like ace-queen seems like a vulnerable enough yet strong enough hand that raising is at least pretty reasonable. So let's go ahead and value raise. Let's go say we're going to value raise 6 of them. We might not want to raise them all, so what do we want to bluff raise with? Well, we're going to bluff raise with the worst hands we're defending. So we knew we were folding all those garbage hands that we listed down here. So now some of the worst hands we're defending with are probably going to be something like very weak pairs or very weak draws. Since it's a 3-bet pot, we're also not going to be able to bluff raise as much. So maybe we only want to bluff raise something like 8 or 9 combos. And let's also say we're going to throw in a few flush draws to sort of balance out our range on the turn when our opponent calls us. So something like 10-9 of spades and 10-8 of spades looks good for that. So that gives us 8 hand combos total. And let's say we want to bluff raise something like, you know, 8 or 9, somewhere in that area. So, all right, for bluff raising, we're pretty much going to want to bluff raise with hands that we don't really think, you know, towards the bottom of our calling range, because this is a board texture where, especially in practice, I think you're going to get 3-bet a lot when you raise the flop. So I wouldn't really want to raise a hand where I think it's really gross when I get jammed on. So something like Jack-9 suited seems reasonable, so that'll give us 3 hand combos. I'm trying to think if there's any sort of tainted draws we want to bluff raise with as well. Maybe a hand like Queen-9 suited and King-9 suited, of course, as well, because I forgot we were calling with King-9 suited, but that's a pretty weak hand. So King-9 suited 3, Queen-9 suited 3. These all seem like pretty reasonable bluff raises to me because none of them are good hands, and all of them have, you know, King-9 suited has a very mediocre draw. If a 10 comes, we're really not going to get a lot of value, and it can't really improve to anything else. Queen-9 suited really can't improve that drastically either. Even a 9 on the turn isn't amazing. So I think this looks pretty good for our bluff raising range. So that gives us 17 hand combos total, and then call would be everything else, unless I missed something. I'm trying to look over it real quickly, but for the most part, yeah, I think this looks pretty good, and I know this took a while, even with me trying to take shortcuts, but honestly, there's just some board textures when you're trying to figure them out, especially if you're using a new range, that they're just going to take quite a while to do because it's kind of hard to pick out 125 combos you want to defend on a very, you know, wet and interesting board texture. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on. Hopefully we can finish, you know, trying to solve the next one, but we're pretty short on time, so that might not even be possible, but let's randomly generate one. Another ace-high board, so ace of hearts, 7 of clubs, 3 of hearts. Okay, so total combos we're going to want to defend is 196. I'm already just looking at this and seeing how incredibly wide we're going to have to defend. So total combos 196, total desired combos defended 137. Alright, so here once again we have the option to value raise or flat, but here I like value raising less. Because if I have a hand like ace-queen, I'm not really afraid of giving free cards. There's not really nearly as many, you know, weak draws he can be bet folding. Whereas on the last board texture with ace-queen-jack, you know, if we make our opponent fold a hand like, you know, some random pair plus a draw, then that's, you know, overall a good thing because we prevented him from getting the chance to, you know, draw out with his gut shot or hit trips, or even if we just made our opponent fold just a naked gut shot with a backdoor flush draw on the flop before, that's really not that bad. Here, there's no sort of weak draws that we can really make fold. Yeah, we can get it in against a flush draw, but that's nothing amazing. Alright, so here I'm going to go ahead and start listing all the hands I want to call with, so let's go ahead and just do middle pair or better, which gets us started out with 86 hand combos, so MP plus, which will be 86 hand combos. I'm getting a lot of flops with flush draws in this series so far. So middle pair plus 86 combos. Alright, flush draw, that'll be another, let's see, we don't want to double count, so how many 7s do we have? It looks like 4. So 18 minus 4, 14, so that's another 14 combos, unless I'm missing something. So that alone is going to give us 100 right there, and now we still need to find 37 more to defend with. So let's keep looking. So gut shots look reasonable. So let's go ahead and do absolute. Alright, so 6-5 suited. So that's only going to be 3. Once again, we don't want to double count. So we're now at 103, and we have 34 hand combos to go. And this is usually when you are doing defending, this is kind of when you hit that like wall where you're like, oh, 30 more combos to go. None of these really look awesome. Nevertheless, we're going to try to make it happen. Because this, to me, also doesn't seem like a board where my opponent should really be able to bet any 2 cards and make a bunch of money. So King, queen, I'm going to put king, queen, 7. Once again, that means any queen, king would be backdoor, or, sorry, runner, runner, flush draw. So that would be king of hearts, queen X, king X, queen of hearts, and then king, queen of clubs. I'm going to do the same thing with king, jack. I'm also going to put a 7 there. See if there's anything else. I'm going to go queen, jack, 7, 2. We might take this one out at the end if we're able to do that, but I don't know if we'll be able to, so I'm just going to put that in for now. So that should get us to 21 plus 103, 124. I'm going to put that there, so I just remember. All right, and then we still have to defend another 13 combos. So now it's just time to go, you know, king 10 heart, or king 10 club, club, king 9 club, club. Something like 9, 8 club, club, where it can turn a 10 or a 6 for a straight draw, or a club for the flush draw. So yeah, 9, 8 club, club. What else do we got? We can do even something like, you know, 8, 6 club, club. That's probably close once again, just like 9, 8 club, club. Very close for whether or not you want to call with those. Queen, we already have queen, jack, so queen 10 club, club. Queen 9 club, club. You get the picture. I'm going to go ahead and just edit in the rest so you don't have to waste time. So this is what I came up with. Here were all the sort of backdoor club draws that I could add. And then I added in pocket 6s and pocket 5s with a club. So, once again, these hands aren't ideal. They're very much floats, but when your opponent's betting half the pot, you're going to have to float a lot if you don't want him to be able to profitably bet any 2 cards. So, I think this range looks pretty reasonable, and, you know, even though we have some very weak hands where it's just like, whoa, those are some weak hands that need to get really lucky to be the best hand by the river, we also do have, you know, a lot of ace queen, ace jack, ace 10 type of hands, which do very well against our opponent's range. So, overall, not an ideal range, but still a pretty good one. So now we're at the end of the video, but I want to make the next quickie still using the same range, because I think if I had to make a guess for what's theoretically correct for what the button should open and how the button should sort of defend, I think this is relatively close. I would still make a couple of changes, which by all means I'm not going to go into in this series, but I think this is a reasonably close range where you're opening 40%, you're 4-betting with a very polarized range, and you're calling a reasonable amount extra because a lot of the 3-bet bluffs in the big blind 3-betting range, especially in the small blind 3-betting range, but even the big blind 3-betting range, are still very reasonable hands that can improve. You know, a lot of like 7-5 suited type of hands, even something like, you know, king 2 suited, it can very easily improve against a lot of these hands in our range. So I think this range is probably reasonably close to what I would guess is theoretically optimal, even if in practice you can open a whole lot wider against most non-very good blinds. So I want to focus on this range a little bit more because I do think this probably looks pretty accurate towards how people will play maybe in the future once people start playing a lot better against button opens and become much more comfortable donking from the blinds, where you're not going to be able to, you know, open 55% in the button or even higher than that like a lot of people can now. So we're going to play with this range a little bit more. I hope you enjoyed this video, and good luck at the tables, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Want to see your hands in the quickie? Convert your hand history using the CR converter or post it in the forums. Send your link or questions to thequickie@cardrunners.com. Please include all relevant reads, stats, and information. The more info you provide, the more likely you'll be selected.